Hey, Shalom, welcome back to the channel, Sister Kate Show for Mountain. I am doing a chore. I am using my chainsaw. I will video a little bit of it and edit it into this video. But what I wanted to talk to you about today was trees. I watched a reel by a young fellow. I think he calls himself the mangy scientist or mangy Forrester, young man living in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, talking about the white oaks on his property and how in the last 10 years a lot of them died off. And I thought, as a property owner, Pastor and I, when we came to our property, we were not of the mindset that we would have to be foresters. But we did buy this property. You can see them all over the place. We have trees all over it. It was only rocks and trees when we bought it. And it had sat for 70 years with no one living on it, with just nature doing nature's thing. And I thought that was probably pretty good for the trees, purify the land, etc. And as we moved on to it, obviously we had to cut some trees down, make some cleared areas for grass to grow and for us to put in buildings and, just the infrastructure that living on your property requires. So we did that. And we found out various trees that live here. We have some oaks, some hickory, other fruit-bearing trees, and so on. And many of them are very large, but not all, because there are a lot of younger trees too. And for a long time, we took the trees for granted, just that they're here and they're doing their thing and they'll be all right. And the thought that 70 years with no human intervention would be the best thing for the trees. And then obviously over time, as we did our clearing and our putting in roads and moved around on the land, like in the past, you can see my videos where I've got goats and I'm tethering them to trees, and then other goats are allowed to run free, and the goats are eating weeds and they're putting down manure. It's obvious that the forest would change with us being here, and change for the better, possibly change for the worse. The thing is, trees have things they require and things that challenge them every single day. The weather is a huge factor in what is happening with the trees. They have to withstand thunderstorms and high winds and rainfall and sun and drought. And their roots have to have an area to go down into and to keep them anchored. And we have seen over our years here trees that have been rotted for whatever reason in areas possibly where there's too much water, and now they're overwatered and they can't handle it, and their bark splits and their roots rot, and then the whole tree is knocked over. The tree is trying to find a place to put its roots down to be able to stabilize and so on. And it's fascinating. It's a fascinating study on the life of a tree and what actually happens. And it's a natural thing, not necessarily man-made intervention, that trees also die through competition, through diseases, through bugs, birds. There are woodpeckers. Normally the tree's already dead that will, peck holes in the bark, which is, something that the tree, if it's alive, has to repair. It's kind of like when you put your maple syrup styles in your tree, you're making a hole in the bark, and the tree has to repair that hole. It's trying to keep its bark intact so that sap can go up and down the trunk. So why am I saying all this? Because if you buy land, if you become a homesteader and you have property and you decide you want trees on your property, get in your mindset that you too are going to become a forester, that you probably want your trees healthy, because where we are, it's essential in the summertime when it's super, super hot that we have tree cover that's 15 degrees cooler. And if we need to cool ourselves down, we can go under our tree cover. It's also essential for certain plants to grow that they have that cover that the tree provides. And the trees themselves need protecting from some of the plants around them, like poison ivy vine, which will climb all the way up the tree and cover the bark and put its roots into the bark and start taking nutrients from the tree. And so you want to read up on trees a bit, learn a little bit about the trees in the area where you're going to homestead, what's good for them, what's bad for them, And also make your plans for where you're going to clear on your property and what you're going to do once that is cleared. Because I'm here to tell you, if you clear property, there are plants who grow the best in a cleared area, and they are going to start growing there. Vines will root their way out to that cleared spot to get that sunlight. It's essential to the plant's growth that they have the sunlight and the rain that comes down. Um, and so your cleared area won't stay clear and look like a lawn if you do nothing with it. Mowing it is going to help the grasses grow. They do better, but the weeds are going to try to compete, and you need to figure out, like we use our goats and our sheep to help us with that. But you need to figure out in your mind how you want all that to go and be prepared to make it manifested, to do the things, to make your forest healthy and also your cleared areas as well. So I'm going to get to it. Speaking of trees, this is a limb, and there's more over here that I've cleared that fell in one of the latest wind and rainstorms. This is a coop we haven't used for a while, but because we have visitors coming bringing birds with them, I want that coop accessible and workable. So I'm going to be clearing that limb, but also repairing the netting around the coop so that the birds can't escape and the hawks can't get in. So that's what I'm doing right now. You have to dispose of the limbs somewhere, and I don't want them right in the walkway. And as my friend Cody, the tree climber and cutter, taught, it's better to start at the top and work your way down due to the weight and so on. All right, crew, here is the after effects of the chainsawing. The branches that are in the woods over there. Trying to get my finger to work. There we go. And then down at my feet here, and then behind me, and also in the wood line over there, all of the limbs from that tree. And then you can see what's left is still in the way, but I'm not going to cut that bigger branch down. I'm running out of bar oil in the chainsaw, so I'm not going to do that. And then the coop, the fence is, 10 years old, so it has its issues. The ties are where some of the other netting was attached, and with that little tree in the middle, that caused some of the loss of the fence. And I'm going to go in there and hopefully spread, like I said, the plastic over the top. The door to the pen is just chicken wire that attaches to screws in the wall. It's not a real door. It was made in haste and done with just the bare minimum effort to get it up. And so I may be changing that. I don't know if I'm going to have time right now to do it. I'm not going to mess with it in case I have to use it until the next time I'm working on it. And then inside we have a water catchment pan or pot, which is breeding mosquitoes. So that guy is going to get dumped out and refilled when the birds actually get here. And then the various bits of netting are there, and I'll check with the tree and figure out what's going on there. Issue with dealing with netting like this, bird netting, is it's really fine and it catches on everything, including buttons, any chicken wire, anything sticking out. And so if you don't have a lot of patience, don't buy this wire. Buy a plastic wire with a heavier gauge and larger openings, because things like this cedar branch in here become a whole problem that you have to detangle before you can actually work with it. I'm going to tie it to the holes in this roof piece to secure it, and I'm probably going to cut that particular section because it is longer than it looks and it is so tangled. I'll probably cut it to make it easier, and also it's a very short distance from where it's attached to the fence up to the coop. One way to deal with these sticks in here is to just break them into smaller pieces, and that makes it a little bit easier to get them out, especially if the limb has like a fork in it, because that's what catches in the netting. It came out easier. And it's really hard to discern which side of this fence this actual cedar branch is on, and it's still pliable, so I can't break it. It's a puzzle I'm gonna have to unwind. So I found the entrance into reaching it. It's up underneath, and wow, I pulled my hand out, now I lost it again. There we go. All right. So if I take these little limbs off, that starts to free the bigger limb, and I'm going to start to pull it all the way out just to give me a little bit more ease with this. There's an edge to the other part of the net. I think this net got torn, so I'm going to bungee cord these edges together to get the coverage right here. That'll be the easiest thing, and bungee cording is just fast. I also use baling to tie it. Through trial and error and patience, it's going to be really hard for you to see that, but I did get the netting up, starting from the doorway back to where the tree is, so that is done. But I will have to finish it on another day. I have something else to do today. Thanks for coming along, and I hope you learned a little something. Bless you. Shalom.